Hi everybody, welcome to Whatever Floats Your Boat, and it's the 26th of February and I just decided to make this short video because I'm too lazy as of now to write it on my blog. So I hope I will still do that. I will do in one way or another, but it's just I felt like I wanted to get it off my chest and couldn't write it because I'm still feeling a bit under the weather. So there's been a flu epidemic in Austria, and I didn't get the flu, but I got a really bad cold, and it's been dragging on for like weeks now. Well, 2 weeks, and I still feel like I have a cough and blocked up nose and things. So altogether a bit grim. And grim is definitely a word that I would describe the winter in Vienna with, because it's very grey and dark. I'm just looking out the window, so just to give you better to get myself into the mood. So yeah, it's basically been a rough winter so far because there's lots of snow, recurring snow, and yesterday it was so bitter cold that I could barely walk with my eyes open. So that was not very great. So yeah, what happened in the last 2 weeks that I haven't really been online? As I said, I was ill and I worked I worked from home, and this weekend I was at the Yoga Zentrum in Mödling, which is a bit outside of Vienna, and I did my first class of the yoga teacher training. So that was pretty interesting. It was a workshop in Ayurveda, and it was mainly very interesting. There are a couple of things that I'm going to say about it. First of all, as I said, it was just bitterly cold, like really so cold. It's quite far away from me where I live, so I have to cross the whole city to get there. And it's freezing. It was freezing cold, and I went there. I missed the first weekend because I wasn't in Vienna, so the people knew each other. I always knew, and I didn't know anybody, which was fine. And there was this teacher. She was very nice and very informing. So I think she was, yeah, it was very interesting. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm not going to talk about too much what Ayurveda is because I just got a glimpse into it, and B, this just is a long way down. But it was very interesting and fascinating to see, like, it's very connected to food and a healthy food lifestyle. And you have different food types that shouldn't eat specific things and stuff. So it's very, very interesting. And all this Vata, Pitta, Kapha sorts, which are like the three main types a human being can be. And you're always everything, but you probably have one of the types of the three types very dominating. I'm a Vata Pitta person, in case you're interested. I got myself tested. So I'm a air. My elements are air and fire and a bit of water and the ether as well, I think. Yeah, probably. As I said, don't pin me down. I'm not an expert on the field. Just telling you about what happened. And so yeah, that was very interesting. So we learned about the different types of Ayurveda and yoga. Obviously, we practiced some yoga, and that was a bit bad because I was ill. I had a blocked up nose and still do, and we did all of the head upside down exercises, and I just couldn't really do them because I couldn't breathe. And whoever does yoga knows that breathing is key. And yeah, I mean, I think it's funny because if you've been following my blog for quite some time, then you will have read that one of my features that was about yoga, in which I didn't talk about in a very high opinion. And I kind of still stick to that. It's just not exclusively so. I think yoga is a beautiful base, is a beautiful like basic idea how to approach your body and to find a connection to your body. What I still don't like, and I don't think I will ever like, is the hype and the kind of sect behind it. That is something that I have a problem with. So this whole vegan, Shakti, Asian obsessed approach to it is just something that I don't really relate to. Obviously, you're free to do whatever you want, but it's not something that I like. And that was the only thing, or actually one of the few things that I actually didn't like. I'm saying actually a lot, that I didn't like so much with this Ayurveda teaching was that obviously it's a like a, I don't know, what is it, a science, a study, a way of life that comes from Asian, parts, from India probably, or Buddhism as well. And I just have a little problem with that generally, with the whole yoga, Ayurveda approaches, that sometimes it really feels like you just want to put, to put the Asian culture above the European, and then just live like that. And I think that is highly problematic because obviously Europeans have grown up, and I mean not as individuals, but as a race, as a continental race, very differently. I mean, we have very different climates and very different herbs and things that we eat. And so I think you cannot really do that. I mean, you can say, oh, Ayurveda is very interesting in its approach, which it is. And then you can apply it to wherever you live. But I think having bulgur and Indian rice and Indian teas shipped over to you to your European destinations, instead of looking into what Europe as a country has to offer, which is a lot. I mean, there's a lot of herbs and oils and things that you can get here that are very, very healthy and very good for you, and that your stomach is also made for, because it's something that your stomach, as in like the European stomach, has grown up with. So that was the only thing, because she was talking a lot about regional and seasonal things, and in the same breath she said try curcuma and ginger and all of these spices that are just not European. And I think that's obviously, some of them are now being grown in Europe, so I guess that's okay. But I just generally think this whole Asians do everything better than we do, Indians, and Buddhism's is like the ultra non plus ultra religion that does everything better. Like this perception of some people, I think that is very delusional as well. And I know it from many people who are in Asia regularly, that they also say that's just not true. Not every Asian person sits around, meditates, and eats healthy. That's just like an illusion that we have. And so that's something where I get a bit sad, because I think that Europe has a very rich culture that is definitely worth considering and reconsidering and restructuring in its ways. But I mean, also, I mean, this is not my personal opinion, and I'm going to upset a lot of people probably with it, but personally, I also think there's this vegetarianism, and I mean, veganism, personally, I think is only a food trend. I don't even think that's a real movement. It comes from these countries because they have just very different geographical and climatic and like climates that nurture very different things. I mean, you cannot just impose Asian culture on Europe and say they do everything better and that's how we're going to do it now, and import a lot of things with oil ships and airplanes. I think that's because we had a woman in the course, which I think this kind of sums it up in a nutshell. We talked about vegetables and fruit, and where we get it, and the tutor or the teacher said she gets it from Hofa, which is like Lidl. And but because they have very good organic fruit from Austria. And I agree. And then there was this one person who was like, no, you cannot do that. You cannot go to a big chain store. You have to go to the organic store and things. And then she actually said that she drives like half an hour to the organic store instead of going to the Lidl around the corner, which for me is really stupid because, I mean, the organic food is still the same kind of, but you don't need to go by car. So I think that is, I think many people in this whole movement, in these whole movements, these pseudo health movements, and I don't mean Ayurveda with that now, but generally like people, like a lot of vegans that I know, I'm not saying every vegan is the same, the vegans that I know, it's all very pseudo style. It's like, I don't know, I kind of solve a problem probably, but I create another problem with it. And I just look into it like this, and so I don't see the repercussions. But this is very philosophical now. So, but yeah, so that was basically the weekend. And it was really bad because it was such a nice weekend. It was so cold, but it was sunny. And now it's rainy again. And I had to sit in a yoga studio all day. The one day that it was nice weather. The weather in Vienna is a catastrophe. It really is. It's grim and gray and foggy and cold, and then there's snow, but then there's no snow on the ground. So it's just really terrible, and I'm really ready for spring. And I think the whole city is. It's like a really aggressive tension spreading everywhere. But yeah, so done that. So today, because I started getting into this whole food thinking, which I've done before, because I feel like that at the moment I'm very unhappy with my lifestyle. I'm very unhappy with what I eat. And I know that a lot of my melancholia and I wouldn't say depression, but depressive phases and tiredness and all of that stems from a very unbalanced diet and a very heavy diet. So I'm trying to change that at the moment. So today for lunch, we don't have much at home at the moment, and I was far too lazy to go shopping. So I ate 3 potatoes, and I had a sour cream dip with it, with fresh herbs and things, and carrot sticks. I would hate myself, like I would hate the person telling me that they had this for lunch. But it was really nice, actually. It was really nice. I mean, basically everything is nice that you eat with a sour cream dip, I think. You could dunk your finger in it and it would be nice. So that's that. But yeah, so I was kind of already feeling deterred from eating frozen pizza or something. And I'm sure it will come back to me, but I've tried to refrain from it. So yes, what else? I'm sorry, I'm a bit slow because my head is so foggy from the blowing my nose. I don't know if you know that, but when you blow your nose again and again and you get such a headache and you feel like a piece of shit. And so yeah, that's what's happening. Right, then about the scribing and the writing, that hasn't been very successful. I haven't even managed to write a blog post for that matter. So I'm working on that. Studies are about to start. So university is going to start in 2 weeks. And I'm really looking forward to it. So far, so good. I'm doing a master's degree in English literature, in case you are interested. And yeah, I'm starting to ramble here a little bit, so I'm going to stop that. Yeah, anyway, so what I want to do, if I do it, I might try out some of the things that were in the Ayurveda script. And if I do, I will let you know and see whether that is actually good. But for me, just to say this also, like as a conclusion of the food thing that I rambled on about earlier, it's just, I think the more regional and the more natural your food is, the better. And I think it can only be very natural if it hasn't come from a far away distance and is not wrapped up in plastic. So go to farm markets, markets where farmers sell their goods, and buy there. I mean, we have a market around here. I think it's called the Brunnenmarkt, but I wasn't really convinced of that. So if you know anything about it, you can just let me know if it's good or not. But it felt very oriental rather than a farmer's market. I have to find out how you say that. So we'll see. But yeah, so that was the only thing that I had a problem with, was with the regional, seasonal, and then everything from India. She said, having drunk her ginger tea in the morning. I'm not much better, am I? Yeah, what else? Not much. Yeah, February is nearly over, thankfully. And then March is going to come, hopefully, with lots and lots of spring, lots and lots of sun. And in about 3 weeks, I'm going to Tyrol. And because I have to do some bureaucratic things there. By the way, I figured out, and I wasn't so aware of that, Austria is so terrible regarding bureaucracy. It's horrifying. They have 10,000 different positions where you have to go and you have to sign things, and then you have to call things, and then they have these kind of cancel notice periods, and they're really long everywhere, and you always have to kind of sell your soul to the devil in order to get things. So that is really annoying. It's really, really annoying. And I wasn't so aware of that, but now that I have to kind of do my own things and I have to get my own things done, it's really horrifying. So if you're not a fan of paperwork, then I think Austria and Germany are not countries where you would like to live in, because they're horribly overloaded with paperwork and correctness, and but the thing is, and the weird thing is, because you would think that if you had a contract for everything and thousands of people and where you go and things, that at least then things would work out, but they don't. People tell you. I had the thing with my fitness studio, so with my gym. I was in a gym like in Innsbruck, in Tyrol. And when I moved to Vienna, obviously I wanted to cancel it. And I went to the guy there, and he told me, okay, you have 1 year period where you have to pay. And then towards the end of this 1 year, which would have been April, you can get out of the contract. And I thought, okay. So now in February, for April, I wrote them in an email saying I want to cancel it, blah, 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 blah. And then they wrote me, oh, you have a 3-month notice period. So you have to pay until June. And I called them and I said, well, that's not what the first guy told me. He said, it doesn't matter now what he said, but anyway, so even with all this over bureaucratic approach and everything, you still get screwed all the time. So it doesn't really even prevent you from being screwed over. Not at all. It just costs lots and lots of energy and time. And it barely ever works out the first time you go. It's really, because you also need so many papers all the time when you go to something in Austria. It's really like you need your birth certificate and your passport and your Meldezettel and everything that they have here is very confusing. very confusing and very frustrating sometimes. But yeah, getting used to it. All right. I know there was something important I wanted to talk about, but I can't remember it for the world. So I'm just gonna stop here. Anyway, so I will write about, hopefully, if I get the motivation up, about my weekend, my Ayurveda weekend, and I might even write you some things down about it, what I thought was interesting. There were some aspects that were really interesting. And yeah, so, but that's basically the whole idea of this weekend and this week. February has been a very slow month, so I hope that March we're going to kind of take it up a notch and then have a great time. Anyway, I hope that wherever you are, there's already spring. And yeah, thank you